everybody, and welcome to episode 6, I think it is, of Prospero's Snippets of Wisdom. And this time around, we've got the famous Carly Tysoe, founder of CT Consulting. So we might as well get straight into it. I just want to know, can you all see my spot? It's here. It's getting big enough to have a podcast of its very own. I'm still got to work out what I'm going to call that, but bear with me, and they wouldn't let you see my good side.
Might come up with a name throughout.
Yeah, we'll come up with our own.
One. We'll put one together.
Okay, that's your task. By the end of the podcast, you need to come up with a name for my spot. Okay.
Okay.
So, welcome.
Thank you.
We got here in the end,
Pleasure.
didn't we? Thanks to the good old M62 and A1. So, straight into it. My very first question for you then is, how did you get to where you are with CT Consulting?
So, my business is quite a new business. I've only been in business, September 24 is when I started. So 18 months, not far off the 2-year mark. And for me, I've always felt like there's something different about me. I've not always wanted to just be in a job. And this has always kind of simmered under the bonnet when you're young, but you don't really know what or how, and you try and have a go at it, but things just don't sit right. And you're like, oh, no, that's not it. That's not what I'm meant to be doing. And you always have those moments before you do it. We're allowed to swear on this podcast or not?
Yeah. Say what you want.
But the fluff it moments where you go, you know what, I'm done. I am going to go and do what I want to do. So you do all the logical thinking of, okay, I've got this pot of money. How long is it going to last me? What is it that I'm actually trying to do here? Why do I want to go into my own business? And what am I actually trying to help people with, achieve? What's my long-term goal? Because some days when you feel like that you don't know what the hell you're doing, you need to look back at what you're trying to achieve in the first place. So it was always for me about working where I want, when I want, with who I want. And what I've noticed, especially in these 18 months, is when you stick by choosing who you want to work with and what your brand is and what you stand for, it feels quite natural and doesn't feel like work. So for me, it is very important that I can show up as myself and be comfortable with that. So success at the moment is moving on up. We're getting out there a little bit more. We're being a part of some fantastic podcasts to help.
You have to let me know where they are.
Yeah, I will. I'll give you an update on getting ourselves out there a little bit more, but being a little bit more clear on what it is that we actually do as well, so people know what they're coming to us for and what to expect.
Yeah, I found that with Prospero. It just doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah.
You know, and the best bit is, I don't know if you're the same, the best bit is you can sit there and say, do you know what, it's really, really nice weather outside. I haven't got anything programmed in, so I'm just going to have the day off and do something different in a way that you can't if you're in a traditional job. No,
but that shift is difficult, isn't it? When you're coming out of that traditional job, shall we call it. My first day in my own business, I was sat at my desk at 8 o'clock in the morning going, with my new laptop, going, oh, what do I do now? And getting out of that routine is really, really difficult. And as I'm talking to you about my business and some of the things I recognise, I'm kind of thinking about what that might feel like if I was having a mediation conversation. And I know we don't need to jump straight into mediation, but I think it links quite nicely of, you know, changing habits and the way that you've always done something might not feel right anymore, might not work anymore. And staying true to who you are and being able to be your authentic self in an environment is really key. And I think sometimes if those two don't show up for you in your working environment, that's where sometimes the friction can show.
Yeah, I can relate to that because obviously being in the military for 40 years, everything was like regimented and disciplined and stuff. And I still do now. You know, I normally set the alarm for 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I get up and exercise for an hour. And if I lay there thinking like, I haven't really got a lot on today and I don't really feel like exercising, this voice still in the back of my head goes on about discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline is you get up and you do what you set yourself to do yesterday. Yeah. So I still found myself, I get up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no need to do this. I could exercise at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's that, your authentic self as well is, I really like that because in the mediation world, everyone thinks that you shouldn't have an opinion, and if you do have an opinion, you shouldn't express it, and you should toe a mediation line and be like a grey person. At least that's what I think from some of the reactions I get. So I find myself, especially on LinkedIn, you express a contrary opinion to somebody else who's expressed an opinion, albeit whatever, on, you know, Donald Trump, Nigel Farage, Keir Starmer, whatever, and you express a contrary opinion.
Yeah.
I often find the very first thing that comes back to me is, call yourself a mediator. Like, well, I am.
Yeah.
I'm a human being with my own value set and my own opinions and whatever.
Yeah.
But I do notice I'm one of the few mediators out there that actually express their own opinions.
Yeah, I think I balance that thought process a little bit and go, that's, yes, have your opinion. How are we putting that over and how are we putting that out there is key as well. So how am I thinking about how my audience, people that are connected to me, take this message as well? Because I like to talk about and give my thoughts about something, but I also want to hear everyone else's thoughts on this as well. So rather than it necessarily being, this is a post, this is my opinion, and this is a statement of what I'm making, it's I see it this way, tell me how you see it, because that's what I'm really interested in as well, because I like the debate of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, debate is good, isn't it? I mean,
it's healthy, it's good. But some people find that get defensive with that sometimes.
The number of people, I've now started calling them out. So all the people that, you know, they'll put out a post and I come back with, well, have you thought about this or the other, or I don't agree with you. You know, I look at it from this point of view. And you go, call yourself a mediator. That's fantastic. Thank you, mate. I'll make you famous now. I've screenshotted what you've just said, and it turned out that the current one is a TEDx speaker. Like, man, I mean, you're somebody who's like, you know, way up there in that sort of world, and you can't handle someone who has a contrary opinion to you without attacking. Yeah. So I think you're right. Being your authentic self out there sometimes does,
and that means
you have to caveat that sometimes, like you just said very well. Yeah. So we spoke about CT Consultancy. I'm guessing that's still Carly Tysoe Consultancy.
It is. Look, you know what? I went all out with the name. Really creative.
So what is it you focus on?
So I really made this 3 areas that my business is about. The first one is communication, and it focuses on insights discovery as a model. I use that framework as my foundation for all of my communication in a business. So once you understand those 4 energies, it allows you to think about, if I'm approaching this colour energy, how would I have a feedback conversation? If I'm approaching this colour energy, how would I write out this email? So that for me is the focus. So if people come to me for communication training, I'm going to be saying this is the framework I'm using. The second one is finance for non-finance. So I used to be an accountant in my previous life. Don't know how that happened. Really don't. When you fall into a career and you just do your studying and you get on with it, and then one day you go, I don't like this. This isn't for me. But what I do like about it is that I got the understanding, and I can speak finance in layman's terms to help people that don't deal with it every day understand enough. So that works a lot for managers that probably have now a budget that they've got to look after, a pot of money. And getting them to think more commercially about, if I don't do a return to work, what's the bigger impact on that? If Chris has been off work this week, just for one day, Chris is fine. He's only been off for one day. Oh, 2 weeks later, Chris has had a day off. That's okay, it's only a day. No return to work happening because something else might be going on there. The longer term impact is Chris then goes off on long-term sick, but we weren't aware of it to be able to help and implement something in the business. So that costs the business however much for long-term sick pay. Do we cover Chris's time off? You know, or do we let the team know that they've got a bit of extra work to do while Chris is off? What pressure does that put on people? How are you being... So it's getting managers to think more commercially and bigger impact, bigger picture, but then the impact on the bottom line as well. So yeah, finance for non-finance. And then the last one is coaching and mentoring for career movement. So as I just mentioned, I started off in accountancy. I went into systems, finance systems, and then went into L&D. And there's a lot of different functions there where you need a lot of different skill set to be able to be successful in them. So I feel like I've got a lot to offer people that are going through that transition themselves and building that confidence in being able to do it.
Do you find, like I do, I'll go off and deliver some conflict management training or a mediation for a business, and often find that managers have been put in a position where they've not received any training to help them cope with that job. They've been very good at the job below, or they might have been in the business longer than anyone else, so it's their turn to have a crack at managing the team.
Yeah.
But it comes with no real training. And I noticed there you said about a manager that might have a budget for the first time. Do you tend to find that they don't actually get any training on how to manage that budget?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So you're right. A lot of managers go into management because they're good at doing the do. Some managers have that behaviour and those natural leadership skills to be able to kind of bring coaching naturally into their day-to-day, but they don't really have any knowledge of finance. Some managers might be interested in numbers and putting spreadsheets together. So for them, it might not feel as such a burden, but they might not be as good as at having the coaching conversations or understand the basic HR policies that they might need to know about grievances and, who is my HR business partner? Who's my finance business partner? Knowing all of that stuff. It's not just a case that you get a pay rise and you've now got 3 people, 4 people, however many people that you look after. So there's definitely a lot more to it.
I suppose some of the frustrating bits is you go and do a consultation for a business and you'll see this bit of a failure somewhere else. Do you then highlight that to the business, or do you think, I'll just keep that to myself?
It takes time to build that relationship with a business to go, you tell me about what you believe it is that you need for your teams. You tell me. I'm not in there. I don't know. You tell me your perspective of what's going on, where you think the gap is, what intervention you would put into it initially. And have you done anything like this before? And why hasn't that worked? So asking all of those questions, but until you then probably go and deliver that session, do you hear other conversations about the business or the team or what's going on? And then you kind of go, I wasn't aware of that. No one mentioned that. And then when you do like a debrief after and you get the feedback from the team and you speak to the client again, the business, you go, I recognise some of this was showing up. I don't know where that comes from or what that's about. If I'm really honest with you, do I then go, you might need to think about this? No, I don't think I do. I think what I do is go, I recognise this. Take it and do something with it.
Cool. So there's lots of those organisations around. There's loads of people that deliver management, leadership, training, coaching, all that sort of stuff. The world seems full of them. What makes CT Consultancy different?
So when I first started out and I was just talking to people, building that network, and I told them about my past and what my career's been like. When I went into doing my business, I was like, no way is finance coming into my role. I'm done with finance. I don't want it. But every time I told people about my story, they went, you need to bring that, you need to have that in your business, Carly. Not many L&D people have accountancy background. Like, that's your niche. That's your niche. And I do that because I've heard, you listen to loads of different podcasts and communities, and you get your niche eventually. You do figure it out. It's almost, you don't have to have it straight away. But I noticed from conversations when I told people that I was a management and team trainer, that then as soon as I started talking about finance for non-finance, they were like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, and that kind of pulled people to want to have more of a conversation with me. So what makes CT Consultancy different is the finance element to it, being able to bring that commerciality, but the L&D profession at the same time and deliver a technical skill. That's what makes us different.
People people like to have small businesses, don't they? You're in your niche. It's almost like you're in your pigeonhole. and this is where we think you sit.
Yeah.
And then you get a lot of people, work on your why.
Yeah.
What why is it? And you need to make yourself sort of unique. So it's good that you've got that sort of uniqueness about how you deliver it.
And what's important to me is you've got to acknowledge what people are telling you. You've got to kind of go, why is it that element gets people's attention? What do I need to do with that? Rather than going, no, I don't want finance in my business. Like, done with finance. Just, I like the insights discovery and I like the coaching and mentoring. That works well. I enjoy that. But I enjoy delivering the finance stuff. I just was done with it then. But people are connecting with me based on that element. So what am I going to do with that? And how am I going to use it so that I can still show up as my authentic and creative self with it? And if it fits and I feel, what's the word, like, I don't know, just excited about it and want to move forward with it, then why not have it in there?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see you're quite enthused about it as well, which is amazing, not being an accountant or, in that finance world. Because I just think it's great, but you're clearly not a great person.
Can I ask you a question, Chris?
Go on then.
If you were to describe finance as a shape, what shape would it be?
Oh man, what shape would it be? Square.
A square?
Yeah.
Okay. What texture would it be? What would it
Hard.
feel like? Like a solid square?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I asked you to then, if you took a bite out of it, what would it taste like? You're going to find that quite difficult, aren't you? You're going to probably knock your teeth out.
Crunchy and solid.
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah.
And why is it that shape and texture? What is it about finance that...
Square's a hard shape. No sort of soft edges to it.
Okay.
It's, I always looked at it and you're either right or you're wrong.
Okay.
Sort of thing, a bit like maths.
Okay.
And it's something that I don't enjoy. So, yeah, hence the texture.
Okay.
Not going to be comfortable touching.
Yeah.
And the taste is like,
Yeah, no chance. I imagine like when you were a kid and them blocks that you put into the shapes.
I'm already retching, yeah.
You can't, you're chewing on it. Yeah, it's just got teeth marks in it. And the reason I ask that is because what I want to show with finance is it's a technical skill. There's terminologies in there that people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I keep it basic. I look at the basic finance terminologies and knowledge that you need as a manager so that when you're having a conversation with the finance team, you're not going, it's finance stuff, it's their problem. It's not. As a manager, you are accountable for how much budget you're spending where. They're there to give you advice. You're the decision maker. So you need to know what's going on and what things mean. And I think thinking about it in a different way, tell me now about what shape it is, what texture it is, and what it would taste like, is getting to use a different part of your brain to think about something that is technical and is finance and probably quite dry to some people. And I think that's what's really important to me, is to bring it into a different perspective, understand it differently, don't feel so scared of it. Because when you've got it and it clicks, you feel like you're up here when you're then having conversations as a manager.
You haven't copyrighted that, have you?
No.
Right, good.
Yes, I have.
I can see it's a great technique actually for some of the things I do.
Yeah.
And just to ask people when they're trying to describe something they really don't like, and actually that was a really good way of doing it. So I think I'm going to work that into some of the things I do.
Yeah.
I think because that's a really good way of just breaking it down and making people think about a difficult subject, like for instance, conflict with a work colleague. What does this conflict feel like? Or whatever. Maybe what does a work colleague? If the work colleague was a shape, and you wanted to bite it, but maybe not quite.
Maybe got to be careful a little bit with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, thinking about a subject or a topic or an item. If you in this room now were to pick up an item that described your relationship with this conflict or this person, what would it be?
Yeah.
And if I'm looking round, I'm going, For those of you that obviously can't see, there's a plant over there that's got nice red, dark flowers on it, and with the greenery. and it's life. Something's happening, something real is happening, but that dark red is bloody. And it looks a bit murderous, and it looks a bit... So as beautiful as flowers are, and something can grow from it, and it's life, that dark red adds a tone to it that brings it down for me. And I think when people then start to describe that, it gives you another picture of what's going on for them.
Cracking. Like it.
Like it.
If you had a cactus in here, it'd be easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But
I didn't. Went with something different.
Yeah. So, in the work that you've done, the businesses you've been to, what do you think is the most common business mistake you come across in the field you deal with?
Oh, God, that's a juicy one. What seems to shock people when I am facilitating a room is how informal I am when I'm facilitating. Not unprofessional, just want to add, but informal, and that they can actually be themselves in that room. And I think at first people don't trust that that's okay. So like, she's saying I can do that, but can I actually do that? And what that highlights to me is that psychological safety in those particular businesses probably isn't very strong. Or there's people that are more outspoken naturally than others, and others step back and let that happen, or not let it happen, shall we say, but it feels more comfortable because then I don't have to say anything. So I think what I noticed more so is that, probably because I'm a stranger as well, just coming in, right, and going, hi, you can be yourself in this room. Can I? Do I like this person yet? Have I made my judgment within those 7 seconds? Is she credible enough to be delivering training to me? Why should I listen to, all of that kind of goes on in people's minds before they go, oh, actually, I'm quite enjoying this. I'm quite chilled. Then you start to see the conversations happening, the openness around, especially from an insights point of view, when you start to talk about people's self-awareness and the profiling, and people are a bit resistant to it initially. Then to me it starts to come out. But initially it's about, do I trust this person or not? And that just tells me a lot around how it's been set up before I've come in.
I get exactly the same thing. So whether I'm delivering training in person or training on Zoom, that first hour, couple of hours, everyone's, despite the fact that you're just being yourself, everyone's really like a bit quiet. They're a bit. You can see they're a bit worried, and especially if you've gone into a workplace where they all know each other as well.
Yeah.
They're all also a little bit guarded.
Yeah.
And then as you go through the training, for our mediation training, which is a 5-day course, you watch it, especially if it's over Zoom, I'll take a picture at the beginning and everyone's really looking quite serious and a bit worried and not really sure how difficult this course might be. And obviously Chris is a trainer and an experienced mediator, and they have no idea how that's going to look.
Yeah.
And then as the week's ended and everyone's going through their assessments, and we've got actors acting the participants in a mediation, everyone's laughing, joking. And it's like, okay, well, you don't laugh and joke during a mediation that you're actually delivering. No. But when you're in the training process and the actor has suddenly taken you down an avenue that you weren't expecting.
Yes. I love that.
We all grin at each other.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there in the background, grinning as well, because I wasn't expecting that. Or you just show them that you're a human, and that, we've moved away. We're not school teachers.
Yeah.
They're demanding, strict.
Yeah.
It's like we can all learn at different paces.
Yeah.
And like you were saying there with your insights, which I'll talk about in a sec, I'm obviously heavily into DISC, which is similar but different. And just looking around, that you sit there and go, okay, well, you're a red, you're a blue.
We don't do that though, do we, Chris?
But it's like now I know that you're being very quiet at the back, and I'm now going to have to need to bring you in, get you involved, and show you that you don't need to be very quiet, and work in so that you can really get the best out of this course. No, I mean, the only way you can really do it off the top of your head is in big handfuls, isn't it? So for DISC, you can sit there and say, well, you're a red, which would be a D for DISC. But people are very rarely just the D. They're a mixture of stuff. So it may well be at this moment in time, what is coming out is your dominant D. Or actually maybe that person is equally a D, but they're just holding it back a bit because they've got a lot more I in them than
Yeah.
whatever. So,
And what we really pick up on is that, and this is some of the myths with insights and DISC, is people feel that we're putting them in a box, and that saying like you're a red or you're a D, or then that's it then. You are there, you're in that square, and that's it. And that is not true. And this is where I've been into businesses before where they've had insights previously, and they're using that language, and I have to correct them and say, no, you aren't red. You lead with that energy, but you have all the others as well. Just some of them are a bit easier to use than others, and you'll recognise the people that you connect with probably lead with the similar colour energies as well. What I'm keen to know is, how are you going to use the others to help connect with that other person that you recognise is a bit harder to work with? Because it's there, you just don't know how to use it yet.
So we've mentioned it a couple of times, insights.
Yeah.
I know that's your thing.
Yeah.
You're really, really into it.
Yeah.
So for the viewers out there that
Yeah.
have never heard of this,
Yeah.
what is insights and how do we use it?
So insights discovery is a profiling around the way that you communicate. So there's certain traits with different colour energies, they're called. So red, yellow, green and blue. And each of those colours have descriptive words about the way that you would approach work, conversations, the way that you would write out an email, for example. And what that allows you to then do is look at that and go, this is the way that I approach certain things, but actually this person may approach that in a different way. How do I use my style and adapt my style so that I can communicate and connect with this other person in my team better? So yeah, it just gives you that insight to the way to approach different communication styles.
So why did you choose to go with insights? Which I think, to be fair, when I first saw you pushing this 18 months ago when you first got started,
Yeah.
I'm like, what on earth is that? A quick Google check. What is insights? So
Are you making it up?
why did you go down the insights route rather
Yeah.
than DISC?
Yeah. It was introduced to me in a business that I worked in, and I was a client practitioner to start with. So I did my accreditation through a business that I was employed by at the time, and heard about it, just never had the opportunity, I suppose. So thank you to that company for funding my accreditation, because I think I just grabbed onto it and was like, I like this. So just continued then when I came into my own business, since I'd already done the accreditation, to do so. So it was there, ready for me to go. You're aware that there's other things around, but then you go, well, I've learnt this now and I've got it, and it was part of my role, so why not just use what I already know?
So for insights then, is it red, yellow, green, blue?
Yeah.
And if you were doing an insights profile on somebody, would they get like a questionnaire to fill in?
Yeah, so there's 60 questions. We call it the evaluator. Please don't use the term test. It's not checking if people are right or wrong. It's going, here are some least and most terminologies I want you to scale yourself. And as you're scaling yourself in the answers, in the background, insights is doing this. Because obviously certain adjectives are determining the colour energy that they're associated with. And then you will receive a profile from that that gives you almost a debrief of your personal style. And then you can add different chapters to it that talk about the best ways to manage Chris, the best ways to communicate with Chris, how to not communicate with Chris, what Chris is like in a team. How, there's loads of different elements to it that then allow a manager to go, well, I know Chris likes to do things this way. I probably haven't done that before. I might try and do that differently. And that's what needs to happen then to actually make insights as a framework work. Because people just sometimes have it as a day out and a great time doing things on 4 colour energies, and they learn a bit of something, but then nothing keeps going with it.
Yeah. So it does sound remarkably similar, but also different to DISC. So obviously you're an insights guru.
Tell me what you see different.
I'm DISC. So So we talk it in terms of D, I, S, and C, hence the acronym DISC.
Yeah.
But also, I think for most deliverers, that's also D is red, I is yellow, S is green,
Yeah.
and C is blue.
Okay.
There are, as I discovered, there are other providers of DISC psychometric evaluation that change the colours.
Okay.
So, you know, I used to sort of skip around going, oh, I'm a high I or yellow or whatever, and people then say, oh no, so you're a dominant character. So, no, dominant's red. You know, I'm not in that. So sometimes other organisations change the colours associated with the letters, which is a bit confusing.
Yeah.
But again, you do an evaluation, an assessment, not a test. I don't think it's 60 questions, but you fill in a lot of questions. And the whole point is you have to do it in sort of like less than 9 minutes, answer the assessment.
Okay.
So you're thinking with your unconscious, because they're quick answers.
Right.
But they're very much in this situation, I mostly do this.
Yeah.
Or I am always
Right.
task focused, or I think task smashes relationship every time, or I'm relationship.
Okay.
Whatever. So those sorts of questions, but you have to answer it quickly. And pretty much as soon as you finish, you get a 14-page A4 printout of exactly, it sounds exactly the same as Insights.
Yeah.
This is sort of your character. You're never just a D. So you get a four scores.
Yeah.
And then we have like the 0 line, and it's 0 to 8 as the positives, and 0 to 8 are the negatives.
Okay.
And you might find, for me, particularly, for instance, in my profile, I'm like a 4 on the D,
Okay.
but I'm a 7 on the I. So my
Okay.
profile would be ID. My
Okay.
green is just below.
Okay.
So I think I'm like a -1 on the S, the green, and then my C, I'm a lot lower, like I'm a -6.
Yeah.
So DISC profiling would say I'm an ID. Sometimes you get people who've got 3 scores above the line.
Yeah.
And then depending on which is, you know, the rate, and then sometimes, rarely, there are people who've got all 4
Yeah.
above the line.
Yeah.
So like you were saying earlier, same as Insights, you're not just a D, you're a mixture.
Yeah.
And then whilst that might be your built-in immediate reaction, I think as you grow up and you get a bit more emotional intelligence and lived experience, you're aware that the way you react. And so maybe in this particular situation, or because I know that, you know, Carly might be a high S, I'll approach this conversation differently, because if I'm just myself, you know, it's going to go badly. Especially in those situations where you maybe giving somebody their annual assessment, you know, you're telling them how their performance is going, and you know that they might be a little bit disappointed. And if you're a high D, it may well be coming in, sit down, listen to this, you know, you were rubbish, you need to do better, no pay rise for you, any questions?
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, I need a lot more than this,
Yeah.
and you've created a conflict.
Yeah.
So I use it purely in conflict terms. I mean, I'm sure like Insights, it can be used for a million different things. There's loads of people who use it for management and leadership development, and how you can get the best out of your team if you're aware of what they do. I use it purely in terms of, it is getting the best out of your team, but it's that how to avoid the conflict by being yourself. So if you're a high-driven D, the way you go about life can upset a lot of other people. They, you know, the people who sit there, and I see it a lot, is they're always rude in their emails. They're just short to the point. They never ask how your weekend went. They never say, "Hi, Kylie, how are you?"
Yeah.
You know, they're just like, "Kylie, you're meant to give me this answer by 10 o'clock. It's 5 to 10 now. Have you got the answer?"
Yeah.
Chris. They might not even put Chris. And they're like, well, that's really rude. But actually, this person just doesn't even think the way that we think.
Yeah. And that's sometimes what I recognise is that the D for DISC, the fiery red energy, there's sometimes some biases against certain colour energies, as if certain energies are worse than other energies. You know, I've given people their profiles before and they were like, I didn't want to be that fiery red. Tell me why, what's going on there for you? We need to remove that. There's no good or bad colour energy to be. You've not got to make sure you're one or the other. It's going that each of them have their good days and their bad days, and recognising what that looks like is going to put you as a leader or as a manager or as a team member in a better position a more comfortable and confident position to have a better conversation.
It was like you said, wasn't it? You by being aware of yourself and potentially being aware of other people and how they might react in given circumstances, you immediately create much more psychologically safe spaces where people are happy to engage. And you're right. I think every time you look at the D, most people look at it as a negative thing, but you have to have Ds. You'll never get anything done. If you don't have a D in your team, nothing will get done. It's like, if I always look at it, if you need something doing by lunchtime, don't give it to an I or a yellow, because they leave it a bit late, they'll get distracted. But if you need it doing this, if you need something's missing in your team and no one really cares about other people, it's probably because you haven't got a yellow or an I. People who care about people a bit more.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because some people might be listening to this and going, well, I know insights, Carly, and I lead with Earth Green. I still get stuff done. Okay. Not saying that you can't.
Because you're a mixture.
Yeah, it's not saying that you never get anything done because your leading energy is an Earth Green. What might show up is that it takes you a bit longer because you're thinking about it, you're reflecting on it a little bit. But then when one day you might go, right, I'm fed up of messing around with this now, I need to get this done. Oh, look what energy's just shown up there. Yeah, so it's there. It's just acknowledging where that shows up mostly for you.
I think
love it.
I think I first did my first DISC profile quite a long time ago when I was a sort of young thrusting RAF officer, and unsurprisingly, you're quite a high D, and everything else. It doesn't mean to say that you're all nasty. You're just driven, focused. You're leading men. It's a military organisation, and you have a particular way that things are done.
Yeah.
And then my last sort of 10 years in the job I was, being a squadron uncle, you're sort of like the font of all knowledge. You're the squadron mentor. You're advising all the young officers and some of the more senior officers who are younger than you.
Yeah.
Just because of your huge amount of experience.
Yeah.
And I did that job for 8 years, which is unusual because normally in the RAF you're changing job every 2 years. But in that job, when you get pushed into a squadron uncle role, you're basically there till you die or retire, whichever comes first. You're not going to be moved on. You're there. And you then know that you're no longer in the promotion race. You're not going to get promoted. You're just now passing your wealth of experience on to other people.
Yeah.
Which is really quite difficult to adjust to at first.
Yeah.
And then after about 2-3 years doing that job, I then took another DISC evaluation.
Okay.
And I changed because the nature of my role wasn't so task focused. It was task focused, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Mine was more people approached, welfare, helping anybody who could come to me with a problem. I wouldn't go and tell their boss about the problem. I'd help them out. And if there was a problem within the squadron, then in the execs meeting, I would go, I'm picking up this feeling that people aren't happy. I wouldn't go, Jones said to me yesterday, and he didn't want to tell you his boss because he doesn't trust you. So I could feed stuff back honestly to the boss and the execs.
But all you've done is just reframe it a little bit so that it's more palatable to the people that then is in front of you. So
it clearly changed my sort of character, I suppose, and I'd gone from one to the other. But I do remember reading it and thinking, and inside, I'm sure a little bit of me died to find out I was no longer this driven thing. Because these do like to see themselves as leaders because they're decisive, even though maybe the decisions they're making aren't the best at the time. They see themselves as leaders. But it is always good to, like you were saying there, other people, they have their D moments when it's like, right, enough of this, we're getting this done. And likewise, with me, even though my D had dropped considerably and my I had raised quite a lot, there were still times I'd just go into the boss and go, right, enough pussyfooting around, what that have you just done? And he's like looking at me. On the bottom, mate, yes, you are. And wow, look at the mess you've made of this, sort of thing. So but it's really interesting, and how similar, but sort of how different they are.
So when you described this then about giving people a time to do it and not think about it because it's their unconscious mind that you're wanting to drill on. In Insights, you've got two graphs. You've got the conscious and the unconscious, and we focus on the conscious because people are actually choosing what they're answering. So we focus on the conscious graph, but describe what the unconscious means. So I'm wondering if one of the differences is where we're looking at the energy coming from.
That's a big difference, because in your full disc profile, you get 3 graphs, and there's one, very, very loose terms I would call it, that there's one is the you that you think you are, the you that you think turns up at work. There's the you that other people see.
Oh, okay.
What other people see turns up at work. And then the middle, I call it where you go in conflict. So it's almost the natural you. So this is the natural you, that where you potentially, when all your barriers are down and you're reverting
so that's
to
the unconscious
in a conflict situation, this is you. There's the face you put on at work. Because we're never all the same as we think we are at work, and then there's what other people pick up on that.
That's where the difference is showing the output.
It's the difference between those graphs that you concentrate on. So where I use it when I'm doing, so when we deliver mediation as Prospero, all of the participants get a disc profile as part of the package. And what that gives me is they'll do their disc profile, it comes to me, obviously they get a copy as well. And it gives me an idea of, is there a natural conflict here between these two people? So let's say, the D, the red and the blue. So the Ds in disc aren't massive detail people. They do know that detail needs to be done, but they don't need to know it. And often don't want to know it. Whereas the Cs are slow, pragmatic, they will dot every I, cross every T, and they won't make shortcuts. They'll make sure everything is done. And whilst they're task focused as well, they're not going to get to the very end until all the questions have been answered and everything is great. And they naturally sometimes have a butt up, depending on what the business is. So it isn't always the case, but that gives me a good idea of, okay, is there a natural thing here just on the way their personalities are and the way they deal with each other? And then as part of the process, we'll do the whole mediation. And then at the end of the mediation, when hopefully we've got their agreement and we've resolved the problem with them, what those core issues were, I then give them a detailed analysis. So based on their scores, so let's say they were a 6 for D, a 7 for I, a 2 for S, and a -6 for C, versus the other person. And I will break down and go, okay, this is where you work really well together as a team. And these are the trigger areas and the trigger points. So when you've found that you've got to have this conversation now about a looming deadline that, as far as the D is concerned, you're not going to make unless the C really pulls their finger out. How you have that conversation in a much less confrontational style. So being aware that this person is a high C, how you approach that conversation as a D, like you were saying in Insights, how you deal with Chris, who is a fiery red, generally. So it's a very similar process. And so these guys walk away. I've given them a debrief sheet on that. They now know what their personality set is like. They now understand what the other personality sets are like, how to approach all of those, but in particular, in real detail, you get how Chris and Carly can deal with each other at work to get the best out of each other when we have to, and be aware of these areas. Because
see, I really get when I'm in a room with people and they look at the first colour of energy, I get them to look at the second one as well. Because even though our first ones might be opposing, our second one might align. So let's approach the conversation with the second one. And funny, with the description of the fiery red, the D, and cool blue, which is the C in yours, Cool blue takes longer, which triggers a fiery red because they want urgency. But what a fiery red appreciates about a cool blue is the accuracy of the work. So you've got to find the balance. What do you want? Do you want right first time, or do you want it quick and in front of you in the next hour? Which one's more important to you? Because quick's good, but then if you're stood in front of senior leadership and I'm not giving you everything you need, who's going to look embarrassed? So which way do you go with it? Do you know what I mean? So it's, I love it. You could just keep going.
I've got a classic example for that one then. I was sitting on the squadron, and we had a very, very young junior engineering officer. And I suppose just like in Insights, there are particular professions that attract a particular style of people. So things that I would say like accountants, potentially HR people.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Engineers, I mean, we're talking like aircraft engineers. They would fall into the cool blue
Yeah.
the C. They do detail, they don't do shortcuts. And there was a classic example, squadron boss, relatively young, definitely fiery red D, definitely. And I think a lot of the squadron boss, I think you have to be a bit more like that as a dominant character to run a combat squadron. And I remember this conversation, young officer comes in, engineering officer, a few of the aircraft were unserviceable, and the boss was getting pressure from above. I can't tell you the nature of what we used to do, but it was important that the guys were flying.
Yeah.
And he sort of said to her, okay, when are these aircraft going to be serviceable? And she was like, I really can't tell you that right now, sir, because we've got to do A, B, and C. When we get to C, I'll have a much, much better detailed answer to give you. He's like, yeah, outside of that, when are they going to be ready? Is it a week or a day? He's like, I can't tell you that, sir, until we get to point C.
Yeah.
And that'll tell me whether it's more likely to be a week or is a day. And he's like, what's your gut feeling? And she's like, I don't have a gut feeling, sir. When I get to C, I'll know roughly what it's going to be. And he's like, why are you always so difficult? And she just said, I was stunned. She was like, why do you never listen?
Yeah.
And he was almost like, I want to do the old, how dare you? And he's like, I'm just asking a simple question. And she goes, and I'm giving you a simple answer. I don't have the answer. I am not going to tell you it's a day.
Yeah.
For you to report it to your boss and it turns out to be a week, because then we'll both look stupid.
Yeah.
And if I tell you it's a week and it turns out to be a day, whilst your boss will be relieved, I'll still look stupid. So we're not going there.
No.
Tomorrow, I'll be able to tell you whether it's a day, a week, or a month.
And do you think that was as well because the conversation that person had to have then with the senior, it wasn't the answer they were looking for. They wanted the easy answer to then have to tell
almost
upwards.
definitely. So he was under his own set of pressure.
Yeah.
Probably from another fiery red.
Yeah,
He's one up, maybe.
Maybe.
But I do remember he basically get out, booted her out, and he came over and didn't even have the decency to have that conversation, because I suppose initially when the conversation started, he was hoping to get an answer.
Yeah.
And yeah, fair play to her. I mean, she was not easily bullied, let's say.
Yeah.
But he was over like, why is she always, why is she always difficult? And I'm like, boss, have you ever heard of DISC? The RAF do a different program.
Yeah.
It's very similar, but much more detailed. I can't remember what they call it, but it's like, you've got Myers-Briggs, and SDI, and a whole host of others, and the RAF did one of those. They didn't do DISC. I'm saying, she's not being difficult. She's just different. She approaches this same problem that you've got in a different way.
Yeah.
And, it's like if somebody's servicing your aeroplane engine, you're going on holiday and it's like, we've got to have this aeroplane engine serviced. You'd much rather the person that's got to go, I've got to do an oil change, then I change the spark plugs, then I do this. Oh, and it turns out the engine's been flying for 5,000 hours. I've now got to do that before I can say the plane is ready to go. Then the pilot walking up and going, look, we're a bit late. Don't do the oil change until we land at the other end. And that bit that needs replacing, it's 4,800 hours.
We've only got another 500 miles to do. It'd be fine.
So you'd really much rather the guy like, this is the process for...
And how frustrated would you be, just from experience, but you've been sat on a plane and then they tell you when you're on it, it's delayed for an hour. Or they tell you it's delayed for half an hour and then it ends up being an hour and a half. Like if they tell you it's going to be delayed and we're going to be sat for a while, or they consistently keep coming to you and letting you know what's happening, yes, it's annoying, but you're going, I would rather get everything sorted because I'm going however many feet up in the air. So if you're telling them something from the start and they're not meeting it, the frustration builds. And I think I love that we just moved on to a holiday kind of conversation.
I'm exactly the same. I'd rather they told me the plane is delayed 4 hours, but in 4 hours' time I get on the plane and we go.
Yeah.
Than telling me we're delayed 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Then we're
and then
delayed
it keeps
another
going
30
up on
minutes.
the screen and you're like, oh.
And that's probably the red coming out of me now. It's like, just tell me. I'll cope with it, because then in 4 hours, for 4 hours I can think of something else.
Yeah.
I can get a book out, I can read it. I'm not constantly like,
I'll pay to go in the lounge for a bit. It'll be worth the money if I'm there for 4. You then have your coping mechanisms, don't you? But the not keeping me updated and the consistency with that would frustrate me. Yeah.
Amazing. Now we're talking about DISC and Insights Out and how they overlap.
Yeah, love it.
Cool. So, close to the end now. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Oh, wow. 20. Where was I when I was 20?
About 2 or 3 years ago, I reckon.
Yeah. Actually 16 years ago.
Never.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Getting some wrinkles. Never as many as you, Chris, but...
Yeah, but I don't moisturise.
Do you not?
No.
Well, you need to start. 20-year-old self. So when I was 20, I lived in Scarborough. I worked in a construction business in the accounts team as a family-run business when I was with an ex-partner. And if I'm actually visualising just kind of 20-year-old self stood in front of me. And it's going to sound really cheesy to go, you've got what it takes to get where you need to be. Just keep going. That's what I would say.
Okay, is that because at 20 you didn't think that?
Because I think at 20, you don't really know what you want to do, where you want to go and what's happening. You're just doing life. You're going out with your friends, you're enjoying yourself, you're going on holidays, you're working, you're getting, life was lovely. It was fine. And you just thought you were doing what you needed to do. So people would say, oh, you're doing really well, you've got a really good job. Have I? Just doing what I think I need to do. Don't everyone think like that? So if I was looking back now, I liked that attitude. I got that from my dad a lot of, you don't get anything unless you work for it. It's an old way of thinking, but it still sits with me in terms of sometimes as well, changing your direction is okay. Doesn't mean you're not working or trying to get away from anything. It's going, that don't fit for me, so I'm going to go and try something else. And it's okay to go and do that. And it's okay to go, that didn't work for me either. Or that didn't work because I didn't set it up properly. But that's okay. Just keep going, because what you're doing is, your intentions behind it and what you're trying to do is good. So just keep moving forward with it. We put too much pressure on ourselves sometimes to be good like that, perfect. Like, it just doesn't work. And as soon as you acknowledge that and show that vulnerability, that's where the human side of what we do comes out.
Now it starts to click together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you answered there the next question I was going to ask you about. What would you tell somebody about to set up their own business? And I think you just got that there. It's just,
It's not easy.
No.
And you question yourself quite a lot. It's okay to do that. It's okay to have that self-reflection piece and go, I'm not in, what's going on here? Do I go back into work? Why don't I just go back into work? It'd be so much easier. I can go and get a job, just get paid, just go with the flow. Life would be, nice and simple. But then there's something, you go back to that goal again of, why am I doing this in the first place? If I didn't do it, I'd still be in the four walls of corporate. Not that you can't expand your wings in a corporate environment, you can. But I wouldn't have met half of the people that I've met. I wouldn't have met you.
Yeah.
I might go back into work, actually. I think stay true. A lot of people say when you start in business, sometimes you just go and take the jobs that give you the money. I can honestly say, hand on heart, and it's probably because I've had a part-time role running alongside, so it made it easier for me to say no to something that didn't fit right.
Yeah, I can echo that as well. Hence, my niche and pigeonhole. We've kept ourselves where we are. We only do workplace, relationship, and community mediation.
Yeah.
We haven't expanded into other areas and got more qualifications because everybody else does that. And we've kept it there, and with a really small training package to help people do conflict management. And our DISC profiling is purely to help people do conflict management. We haven't expanded out into leadership areas and management.
Yeah.
Because keeping yourself sort of focused is good. So, if I wanted to engage CT Consultancy's services, where's the best place for me to go?
So you can find me primarily on LinkedIn, which is the platform that I use mostly, and also on Instagram, CTC_consult, and also I'll send you my website link and you can connect on there and book in some time with me.
Absolutely. Right. Cool. So, favourite tipple?
I love a glass of Pinot.
Okay.
I always say this though, it's got to be a good glass. The glass makes it.
Right. So what sort of glass would a good
It's
Pinot
like a
go in?
nice thin stem.
Mm-hmm.
You tap it, ting, It makes a beautiful sound. And not too big, just a nice medium shape. You know, sometimes I can't go to festivals where they put wine in a plastic cup. Gives me the ick. And a thick stemmed glass in like a proper like nice country pub, but they have like the old style glasses. It's really, no, don't do it for me. So a nice Pinot in a thin stuffed clingy glass.
So you ask for see the glass before you order a drink in a pub?
What glasses do you have?
Yeah.
I'm always looking, but they're normally underneath, aren't they? So it's a bit inappropriate to climb over the bar.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm not having that. Take it back.
Yeah.
Right. Favourite food?
This is hard because I'm not really a fussy eater. So recently, me and my husband, we've been a bit fussy with our food. I say we're not fussy with our food and making a lot of stuff ourselves and going, why would I go out and pay 20 quid for a pizza when I can make the dough and we make our own pizza and we enjoy the time in the kitchen together with a glass of wine and a nice glass. So I like a homemade pizza, but I enjoy the environment that it creates as well when you're doing it at home with the partner.
Yeah, cool. Okay, homemade pizza.
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Cats. Hates me. I like dogs. I do like dogs, but a cat for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't like cats.
Yeah.
You know, we've got loads of friends who've got cats, but they're just not my go-to. I wouldn't buy one. I wouldn't want one.
Yeah, so we would have a dog one day, but we've got friends that have got dogs, and I just fuss them, and then they take them. It's like my friends' kids. We don't have any children, so I go to see my friends that have got children, and I'll look after their kids for a bit. And I go, there you go, and then I'll just go home to my cat.
Yeah, and one day when you get a dog, you realise all those wasted years that you had with just a cat. That'll be the thing. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
And we'll go and have a coffee in a sec.
We will.
It'll be all round for once. So that's episode 6 recorded in the bin, ready to go. I don't mean in the bin. We got
it weren't that rubbish, was it?
We got the technicians to sort it all out. So that's episode 6, halfway through our 12 post series. So I hope you're sticking with us. If you are, subscribe to the channel. And let me know some questions of what you would like to ask. A lady who's coming on, Sarah Manning, I think, is next up, and she's a family mediator.
Could you ask Sarah what shape she would describe finance as?
I'll try and remember that. If I don't remember, I know a man just behind the camera who will.
Yeah.
So, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you shortly.